The girl's mouth was full of fresh blood, including a little bit of her remaining fingernail. What was even more horrifying was that the tip of her tongue had turned purple-black, as if she had been poisoned. Then Tamak checked my cousin's arms and legs again. When he was done, he frowned, his face a bit ugly. "It's a living scarecrow." She was given a living scarecrow. When my aunt heard that, she immediately stopped crying and went straight towards Tamak. She grabbed Tamak's hand, as if she had caught a straw to save her life, said, "What is a living scarecrow? Vong Van, you have a way to save him, right? Hurry and save your brother. He has always been close to Lok Duong since childhood. You must save him." After saying that, she couldn't help but cry. Tamak frowned, slowly withdrew his hand from her hand, without saying a word. Seeing my cousin like this didn't make me feel comfortable, so I approached Tamak and said, "If you know what's going on, you can save her, right? Can you save her?" "My cousin. Why should I save her? She is your sister, not mine. What benefit will I get from saving her?"
Domot spoke softly.
"What benefit do you want? I've already agreed to go find Lam Yen Ni with you. What else do you want?" I was extremely impatient. I was really heartbroken when my cousin turned into this. If he could calm the crazy girl down, there would definitely be a way to save her. He lowered his head to look at me, his eyes as deep as a pool, not knowing what he was thinking. Finally, he held my hand and said, "Let's go out and talk." After saying that, he pulled me out of the hospital room, found a quiet place in the hallway and said, "Do you know what a living scarecrow is? It is a type of insect that is nourished by the human body, specializing in eating human souls. So the people who are hit by the living scarecrow are crazy and have strong attacks, precisely because their souls are all crazy." Was devoured by the living scarecrow and turned into a living scarecrow. In this situation, it's better to kill her. There's no need to save her. Why is that? My heart clenched. My eyes instantly blurred. I just assumed that my cousin was having some kind of stimulation that caused him to not wake up. I didn't expect it to be that serious. "What do you mean you can't save her anymore? Is there any insecticide that can keep the living scarecrow out? Or is there any other way? My uncle only has that one child. If something happens to him, how will my uncle and aunt live? I'm a ghost, and I'm an old ghost hundreds of years old. Is there no way to save her?" I cried and grabbed Tamak's sleeve and asked, "Pay attention to the way you use words. What an old ghost. It's just that my time as a ghost is a bit long." Tamak corrected. He didn't expect me to cry. His eyes showed confusion. He raised his hand to wipe my tears, sighed and said, "If you insist on saving her, it's not completely okay. I can't. I just have to pay a high price." "What's the price to pay?" Seeing there was a way, I immediately raised hope and asked him, "Kiss me." Deep French kiss. Tamak said. His eyes stopped on my lips. He grinned crookedly. "You?" My face turned red. I never thought he would make that request at such a serious time. But now I don't care too much. Luckily, he still uses Vong Van's face. Although not as handsome as Tamak, it can more or less make me less embarrassed. So I decisively stood on tiptoe, proactively pressed my lips against his, slowly stretching out the tip of my tongue. His hand followed and placed on my back, pulling me into his chest. As soon as the tip of my tongue touched his area, he immediately turned from passive to active. I don't know when his face changed back to its original appearance, aggressively sucking me. I just felt like all the strength in my body was being sucked away by him. I soon felt weak and collapsed into his arms. While I was breathing heavily as if I was about to faint, he finally let me go, his face quickly turning back into Vong Van's. "Let's go. Go prepare the things we have to use later," he said, naturally holding my hand and leading me out. I tried to pull my hand out several times but couldn't pull it out, so I let him hold it. He took me out of the hospital into the nearest supermarket and bought a bunch of dairy foods like cheese, butter, and 2 bags of granulated sugar. I couldn't hold back my curiosity and asked him if these things could chase away the living scarecrow. The living scarecrow loves to eat human souls, but would it be interested in these sweet dairy products? It was rare to see Tamak not scolding me for being stupid. He explained that these things were not to chase away the living scarecrow, but to call the village rat. The Thon Loi rat is the natural enemy of the living scarecrow, specializing in hunting the living scarecrow. The Thon Loi rat, like other rats, loves sweet things like butter and cheese. After introducing Thon Loi rats, he carefully explained to me the method of catching Thon Loi rats, and said that because they specialize in hunting living scarecrows, they often appear in groups in cemeteries. Hearing that, I had a bad feeling in my heart and asked Tamak, "Are you going to take me to the cemetery?" After 2 experiences visiting graves in Vong Van's hometown, I now absolutely hate places like cemeteries and am even psychologically haunted. Tamak grinned, nodded, and said yes. Not only did he intend to lead me to the cemetery, but he also threw me into it because the Hamlet rat is very sensitive to negative energy. With him by his side, the Thon Loi rat would not dare to go out, so I just talked in detail about this method of catching village rats. At this point, I really wanted to cry, but to save my cousin, I had to pay the price, who knows. There was nothing else I could do. I suppressed my panic and followed Tamak to the cemetery. By the time we arrived at the cemetery, it was already past 10 o'clock at night. Throughout the cemetery, not to mention people, not even a light bulb, there were only 7 or 8 graves tilted close together. Under the hazy moonlight, they looked terribly gloomy. I couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva and turn my head to look at Tamak. The strange thing is, he's clearly a ghost, 100 times more terrifying than these graves and cemeteries. But it makes me feel inexplicably safe, as if he were just here. Then I won't be in any danger. Go ahead. Once you're in, just go straight forward. No matter what happens, don't look back. I'll be waiting for you there. Once you've caught the village rat, don't hesitate. Just run straight out of the cemetery. Tamak also looked at me, he grabbed my hand and advised me. I nodded, holding the things I had just bought that afternoon in my hand. Under Tamak's attentive gaze, I gritted my teeth and went into the cemetery, placing a piece of cheese and a little sugar on each grave like he did. I teach, then hold my breath and listen to the sounds in the cemetery. Not long after, I heard a noise from the grave behind me. A small white mouse was crawling towards the cheese, squeaking excitedly. It wasn't just him that was excited. At this moment, I was even more excited than him, even forgetting my fear while in the cemetery, slowly walking towards that white mouse. Tamak said that Rat Thon Loi is very alert. Definitely don't attack as soon as you see it, otherwise I definitely won't catch it. We had to wait until it had eaten all that cheese before catching it. By then it was too full and could no longer run, so it could only serve as bait for me. I carefully walked closer to the white mouse, nervously watching its every move, just waiting for it to finish eating before I took action. Waiting for a while, the last piece of cheese was about to be finished, when suddenly I felt a cold wind blowing on the back of my neck, but someone was breathing on my neck.